Welcome to the Rewards Master Live here on Sunday afternoon. This is, I believe, the 30th live session that I've had. And I think we grew from having like 8 people in the first one. And now we're regularly up in the, 40, 50, even up to 60 sometimes. I think the highest we've ever had is about 62 in here. And we usually always have them here on Sunday afternoons. And so everyone who's already watching and in here, good to have you here. Dem is here, always here, channel member, great supporter of the channel, my fellow prestige holder. We're in that elite club there. Good to have you here with us, Dem. He says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. RC, my very first channel member of all time. By the way, I'm up to 81 channel members. So very excited about that. I just filmed a brief update channel member video yesterday, so it'll probably come out tomorrow or the next day. So be looking for that for channel members only, talking about how to kind of leverage some of your card stuff for some great things. So RC, good to see you back. Very first channel member. Good to have you here. Matt Clausen. Matt, he's one of the great creators, one of the most knowledgeable in all the space. Great to have you here. He's often here on Sunday afternoons. Juan Garcia, another great channel member, says, good afternoon, Bob. Well, good afternoon to you, Juan. Good to have you here. Points with Philip, my good friend. He says, hey, friends, what's up? Good to have you here, Philip. Got a great channel. If you haven't seen his channel, he produces a lot of stuff that's very, very helpful. Dem says, let's get you to 100. That would be awesome. 100 channel members would be amazing. So like I said, I think I have 81 today, which is a great, it's been steadily growing. So that is very exciting. I just can't imagine that many people care enough about what I have to say about this stuff, but I am deeply humbled by it. So, and by all of you. LG1914 says, hello, happy holidays, everybody. LG, good to have you here. Happy holidays to you. Larry, channel member, often here, says, hello, Bob, and everyone here. Good to have you here, Larry. And Sleepy Rod says, howdy, I don't know which cards to get in 2026. Nothing too enticing at the moment. Okay, well, I don't know. We're going to see how this built thing lines out. We might talk about that a little bit. That's not really on my agenda, but I know it's on everybody's minds right now. So that might be a possibility. I mean, some people think it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Some of us are a little bit less optimistic about it. So like I said, this is my 30th live stream that I've had, and very, very excited to have everybody here and join us. First thing I wanted to mention before I get to the slides for today, and by the way, I want to say, of all my live streams, I've never done as much work on a live stream as I have for today's. And it wasn't just for the live stream. I'm basically sharing today something that I did for my own benefit, because it's a great frustration on my part because of a particular card, and we'll get to that, and wanting to use it to maximum effort. And because there wasn't any information out there. And by the way, I'm about to cough. I'll probably do that a couple of times. I've been having asthma yesterday and today. So if I take a hit on my puffer or cough a little bit, don't, I'm not sick. I'm having a little bit more trouble breathing than normal. So bear with me if you would. But I'm going to get to that because it's a tool. I basically made my own tool, and I'll probably publish it on my webpage eventually. But it's been a great frustration. So I hope it'll be helpful to everybody. Put lots and lots and lots of work into it. But before we get started on that, excuse me, before we get started on that, I want to talk a little bit about something that RC brought to my attention. We mentioned that RC's in here, and RC had sent me a message and said, what's this deal with American Airlines not giving points or loyalty points on their basic economy fares? Well, and my response to RC was, well, yeah, they're not anymore, but they didn't give many before. They gave two points per dollar spent and 2 loyalty points per dollar spent, which really doesn't rack up very much anyway, especially on the loyalty point side. And truthfully, no one who's chasing loyalty with American is buying basic economy tickets. It's just not, I mean, I don't even look at them. So I think that, and they just kind of followed suit, because I'm not sure about United, but I know Delta does the same thing. They don't give anything as far as loyalty or anything regarding anything other like that. when you're doing a basic economy fare. In fact, Delta goes even farther. They won't even let you into the Delta Sky Clubs, even if you have an access method. So even if you have the Delta Reserve card or the American Express Platinum card, they're not going to allow you into the lounge. So they go even farther. Where as far as I know, you can still get into a lounge with American if you have like the executive card from Citibank, something like that. So let me go catch up on a couple of comments and then we'll get into the slides. Let's see. Juan Garcia gifted 1 channel membership. That puts me to 82. That's amazing. Thank you, Juan. We'll see who the lucky recipient of that is here in just a minute. So hopefully they'll get great benefit out of that. Thank you so much. Chad's Money Minutes is here. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Chad. Chad also is a great creator, kind of one of the ones who is greatly encouraging. I know he's encouraged me as a new creator. I was going to say young, and I don't think I fit that bill. So as a new creator, but I know he encourages a lot of the young guys too, and ladies who are starting to create. He's a great encouragement in that way. Thank you, Chad. Phil is here and says, finally catching you live. Let's go. Phil's a channel member. Good to have you here, Phil. Great to have you with us. RC says, thanks for talking about it. All right. Talking about that AA thing. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it's that big a deal because frankly, I think people who are buying basic economy tickets probably don't care that much. I mean, they might like the miles, but it's not going to, what they were giving you before wasn't going to add up to much anyway. And as far as status, if you're buying basic economy, you're probably not chasing status because most people, if they're buying them like with their work or whatever, they're going to buy a regular economy ticket, not the basic ones. That's one thing I think people sometimes get confused. They see basic economy and they think that means economy. It doesn't. It's a lower level that's basically there to compete with Spirit and Frontier and the true low-cost carriers. LG 1914 says, hey, points with Philip. Hey, how you doing? LG saying hi to Philip. Great to have you here. RC's, I bought a basic economy before, but I do hate it. Yeah, it's terrible. You don't get to choose your seat. You don't get anything like that. So it's unless you just absolutely got to pinch your pennies, it's usually not worth it for most people. And Family Travel John, good to have you here, John. His channel member says, happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday to you, my friend. Good to have you here. Okay, add to the stage my slides for today. Well, when it comes to today's slides, we're basically going to get to 2 things today, and that's new development and the centerpiece. And when it comes to new developments, I'm going to talk a little bit about a shift. The new development is that there's a little bit of a shift in my own thinking. And I've already got some of them recorded. They'll start to publish this next week. But I've started really shifting how I'm going to present videos because typically on my channel, I present videos to people who have a similar travel style to myself. And the strategies, although some of the information on cards would apply to everybody, the strategies would most apply to people who are fairly flexible with travel, maybe have higher income and they can have more of a travel budget. And so they can be selective about what they spend their points on and therefore have the ability to really cherry pick, so to speak, great point values. So that's why I talk about, I can't stand the points evaluations for myself that are out there. Like, they'll say, well, American miles are worth 1.7 cents a piece. Well, no. I don't think I've ever only got 1.7 cents a piece for American miles. And I have gotten over 8 cents a piece often and consistently 5+. So that, those evaluations, they're averaging everything. And I just don't use my points for low value. I just pay for it. And I know a lot of people on here do that as well. So I've made a lot of stuff for people like that, but I'm starting to realize that I think that's a disservice to much of my audience and to really, frankly, most people who are looking for a credit card. But I think that even though there's other content out there that does often speak to people new to the credit card game, upon evaluating it, I'm not sure it's what's best for them either. Because when, some of the things that are suggested, let's take, for instance, a Capital One card. I mean, I like our Capital One card, and I've used our Capital One miles for some great redemptions. But for the average person, Capital One's a little harder, because if you're just flying domestic and things like that, you've got to like go through Turkish to buy a United ticket. You've got to use their portal at 1 cent a piece. That's not great value. Or you've got to go through, Air France to buy a Delta ticket, whatever. And that's just more effort, I think, than the average person's going to put into it. So what I try to do is I'm trying to think back to myself 15 years ago when we had our kids home, when we were more strapped for finances. We wanted to take trips, but we were never going to take a trip to the French Riviera. I mean, we were taking trips to DC, or we were taking trips to, I don't know, Florida, to take the kids to Disney or whatever. And we were taking domestic trips and staying in moderate hotels. And so I'm trying to think, well, the stuff that I've often talked about, and I'm not going to stop talking about it because I'm going to mix it up, but that really doesn't apply to those people. So I got to thinking, and this is my points epiphany. And these are the kind of the points that came up in it. Points and miles are like everything else in life. Potential is limited by resources. My mama used to always say that, well, rich people can get rich faster than poor people. And she'd say, it's easier to make money when you've got money. And my mama was a country girl, and she had a lot of colloquial sayings that were funny and kind of redneck, but she did have some wisdom about some of that. And that's just kind of true. It's just kind of true. I mean, it is easier. In fact, that's what my new members only video that's coming out this week will talk about. Is I bought a purchase for my farm. I bought a tractor, and I got it at 0% interest. And because I was able to leverage the credit cards and I had the cash, because I got it at 0% interest, I put the money in a high yield savings account, earned 5% on the money. And then I got a whole bunch of points back because I had the ability to do that. Well, I only had the ability to do that because I had the resources to do it. And so I made more money than anybody else. Other people who made that same purchase, excuse me, if they didn't have those resources, other people were going to have to pay interest on that, and they wouldn't have received the interest from it, from putting the money over, and they probably wouldn't have had the credit to get a 0% offer and stuff like that. So there's like 3 areas where they can't make as much because they didn't have as much resources. And I think that's true in life across the board. Everybody talks about, well, the economy. It's interesting because the economy, and I'm thinking about this next year, doing a side channel, and it probably won't be as much effort as I put into this because this is my great passion and hobby, but doing a side channel on general finance and some of these kind of thoughts and strategies, because the problem is that, when you think about finances, and when you think about the way that many people do things in their finances, and when you apply these principles of credit cards, that a lot of folks don't have the ability to do things like I'm talking about on this channel, which is, if I have to spend $5,000 a year on domestic flights to save my points for international business and first, okay, I'll spend the $5,000 a year. But what if you don't have $5,000? What if you need your points and miles to travel? And that's who we were years ago. And I know there's a lot of people in that place. And so this principle of that, your potential is limited by your resources. If for instance, as I was trying to get to a moment ago, in the economy, it's funny because when interest rates are high, if you don't have any debt, it kind of can be a good thing. I mean, I was loving getting 5.5% on a high yield savings account. I was loving that. And interest rates went up, but as far as me, I mean, I have my house at 3% or whatever. I mean, that didn't bother me. I wasn't taking out any loans, And so it's funny because the economy, when it's really good for certain people, it's not as good for other people. And when it's really good for other people, it's not as good for the other end of the spectrum. And because our economy is kind of controlled and manipulated by interest rates, which there are certain people who like high interest rates because of interest and investments. And there are other people in a different stage of life that, well, I think that's true with credit cards too. There are strategies for credit cards that work good if you've got the resources to take care of other things. But then there are strategies for credit cards that don't. And you need a different strategy if you're in that other stage of life, so to speak, kind of like it is with the economy, if that makes any sense. So I'd love to hear some of your comments about that first one. Let me get caught up on these, and then we'll go through these rest of these points real quick. Let's see. Okay, talking to points with Philip. But RC was talking about hating basic economy. Family travel, John said happy Sunday. Okay, here we are. Dem says, I do think that many of these valuations of cents per point are used to steer customers towards other cards by the influencers, i.e. the points guy says Chase UR is worth more than Citi, etc. Yep. And, I'm not going to get on anybody's case because I think everybody's, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt that people are trying to be honest with it. But there is no way that I could ever figure out a way that I could say Chase points are worth more than Citi points. I mean, I don't see how somebody says that, because now let me be very clear, unless you just will not fly American Airlines, you hate them or whatever. Excuse me. Not fly American Airlines, and you are going to stay in Hyatt's, especially like the 4,500 point or the low point redemptions. And that's what you're going to do. I mean, maybe then, but I just don't see how people do that. But, people look at it differently. But I agree with you, Dem. Dem says it's all fluff. Many of the transfer partners are pretty much the same, with a few notable exceptions, Hyatt, Delta, etc. Yeah, some of those are good. Hyatt's a good one. Delta's a terrible one. But, it's funny. A lot of the folks who are telling folks that they can get good value with the system are saying, and then you can transfer points to Delta. It is just not in my humble estimation, it's just not a good idea. I found one use of Delta points that I thought was better than my other options. I mean, I just don't see how it's great. Stacy said, saw my cue to start dinner. Yep, every single week. Stacy comes and watches. Thank you so much, Stacy, for being here. Check out her channel as well. It's a good channel. Dem says, as someone whose career is driven by tracking treasuries daily, I can attest to our economy being primarily driven by interest rates. Yeah. And do you agree, Dem, that and when it's high or low, it's good for one segment of the society, but it's bad for another segment of the society, because one segment of society, benefits from high interest rates, and the other, really, it's a detriment, and vice versa. Both things seem to be true. At least that's my simple, kind of breakdown, but tell me if that's so or not. Charvicio, channel member, great to have you here today. As someone who, with a teacher salary, I have to ignore the high cent per point because those are only possible on high-end hotels and business class flights. The average person would be coming out ahead at 1.5 cents per point. Thank you, Charvicio. And you, exactly what you described is why I had this points epiphany, because I want to say things that help people in your situation too. Because I've been in your situation. As most people on here know, I am a teacher. I'm a college professor, but I am a teacher, and I understand. It's flexible now, but it wasn't always flexible in my life. So I want to speak to that and address that with people's lives as well. Joe Phillips, I think the reason Chase points are justifiably so valuable is not because of the 2x redemptions of Hyatt, but rather the opportunity cost. There just aren't great alternatives with hotels. Yeah, unless you're thinking I prefer hotels, that's really true. That's really true. Or if you're somebody like myself that just pays for hotels generally, that's an option too. But yes, if you need your points for hotels, I do think Chase and Bilt have that market kind of cornered. Dim says, agreed. Everything gets impacted, including jobs, rent, savings, rates, etc. It's a ripple effect. Okay, like that. Like people talk about the rent crisis. There's a good example. Well, I'm not a landlord now, but I've been a landlord in the past. And when rents were going up, my mortgage price stayed the same. I was paying the same mortgage on my rental properties, but I was able to charge more rent. So what was terrible for people who were renting was pretty good for the landlord. And I just think that's the way the economy works. And I think that's true in credit cards as well, as far as credit card strategies. Okay. Mad Matt says, what discipline do you teach? I teach history, history, religious history, theology, several other topics. Philosophy. I have a master's in philosophy, and I've taught that also. So quite a few. But primarily history and religious history more than anything. Okay, let's see how many we got in here. We got 31 in here and lots of comments. Let's see how many have hit the like button. 16 likes. So if you would hit the like button, I'd appreciate that very, very much. Okay, getting back to my slides. Many point strategies can't provide good value to regular people. And that I've kind of said that before, but I think that, I just don't think that the person I was 15 years ago was going to be able to use a Capital One card, because I wasn't ever going to be able to figure out, well, I guess I could have, but I wouldn't have went to the trouble when I could have just got a card that transferred over to American or even over to United. And I'm going to talk about the value of Chase a little bit in this as I go on in the series of videos, because Chase does have that. They have Hyatt, easy to use. They have United, not the best, not near as good as American and Alaska, but very easy and way better than Delta. So it's as far as point values that I found. So yeah, I think that these strategies of, use say Wells Fargo, great earnings on Wells Fargo cards, but they don't, you got to go through hoops to fly domestically. Same thing with Capital One. You got to jump through hoops and to get good value domestically with even Amex. And I love Amex, but because for my situation, Amex is a points parade. But for people who are just trying to live their life and get a vacation out of the deal, it's harder, because those Delta, you can take 2 flights on American for what you can do on the Delta. So it's that for the same points, maybe 3 sometimes. So that's tough. It's number 3. Most people won't learn advanced techniques. Let's just face it. Most people aren't going to learn how to navigate Turkish to fly United or Avianca. They're just not going to do it. So is that the best plan for them, to get a card that realistically they're probably not going to use to its maximum potential, and ultimately they're going to burn their 100,000 points at 1 cent per point in the portal? I just don't think that's good advice to give people. Let me catch up on comments. Looks like we got 29 watching. That's a good number. 23 have hit the like button. That's awesome. Let's see. Sleepy Rod said, whoa, Rewards Master is a history teacher. Yep, that's right. That's why I love going to Rome and Greece and all those places so much. Okay, so number 4, what people will, most people will never be passionate about points and miles. And what I mean by that is that it takes a little bit of passion to get deep into this game, and it's got to be your hobby, right? So I can navigate Turkish. I have. I can navigate, Air France, and now Air Canada is pretty easy, but still Air Canada, and I can navigate ANA and all this stuff because this is my hobby. I like it. I enjoy it. But for people who are just wanting to get in and get out and get their vacation, they're not going to do that. They're just not going to do that. So why are we feeding them a strategy that is ultimately going to be low value for them? I just think it's a reality. And finally, number 5, strategies need to be simple, but with great rewards. Now, there's a simple strategy to just put everything on your Chase cards and use their portal. But that's a terrible strategy. That is not good points value. But I think that there's a strategy that can be, now it's not going to have the high-end cent per point value that international business and first class will have. It won't. But I think there's a simple strategy where just the regular person who will just do the most simple thing, which is take their points, transfer them to Hyatt, take their points, transfer them to American, take their points, transfer them to United. I think that with just that simple move, that there's a strategy that those people can get 2.5 to 3 cents per point value most of the time. And that's what I want to teach people how to do. Simple, but still great value. So that's what my points epiphany has been about. And you're going to see some videos on my channel kind of addressing this in the very near future. So I'm still going to do the stuff I do for myself and for others because I'm very passionate about it. But that's kind of what I want to do because I want to be a service to as many people as I can. And I want somebody who speaks to who I was 15 years ago. All right. Let's see what we had a comments wise. Thick Boy says, it's my boy RM. What's up, my guy? Hey, good to have you here. Thick Boy, good to have you with us. Let's see. Mad Matt says, Sleepy Rod, I was more shook by his master's in philosophy. I want to talk about modern philosophical questions now. What is value and from what perspective and what is nature of optimizing? Well, I taught ethics more than anything else. So you should hear me talk about relativism versus utilitarianism versus Confucianism versus divine command versus all the different ethical theories. I think I like virtue ethics quite a bit. So we could get off on Aristotle and all that. But, that's a discussion for another day. It's a discussion for another day. All right. James is here, channel member. James gives us all a wave. Servicio, my simple strategy is one ecosystem for lower to mid income. Just put everything on Built. Rent, mortgage is already automatic. So it's best to gain your points in one place. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's not a bad plan because Built has such valuable points. I mean, and they've got they are the best because you could transfer over to Alaska to get great value on your flights, and you can transfer to Hyatt to get great value on your stays. That's pretty good. If I'm crossing my fingers for you and myself and everybody else that these new cards are really good. We're going to find out in 15 days or whatever. Okay, Kevin says, good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. Good to have you here, Kevin. He often signs in. Mike Newland. Hey, Mike. Great friend of the channel. Great to have you with us today. Let's see. Vincent Pascal, I redeemed most of my Capital One miles for Turkish Airlines economy flight because it was the most cost-effective option for that particular date I needed. Cent per point valuation. Yeah, it's not to be considered. So, yeah, now, did you fly on Turkish? So you were doing an international trip. I'm taking it. Yeah, I've used Turkish before too. I don't like the webpage and I don't like the app at all, but they do have some value sometimes. Matt says, I love ethics, moral psychology. Yeah, well, we would have a lot to talk about on that. That's for sure. Okay, Family Travel John says, he's a channel member and he's got a highlighted post here. Says, I've shifted my spend to Citi and Chase for those reasons. Citi for flights on AA and Chase for hotels with Hyatt. Simple but good value. That's going to be one of the strategies that I'm going to highlight this week because I do think that your three issuers that are really powerful, and you could maybe say Wells only because of the transfer at 1 to 2 with Choice Hotels. Choice Hotels is an option for people that we're talking about with that travel needs. Choice is an option. So you can say maybe on the outlier Wells Fargo, but the three issuers that work for this are Citi, Chase. I mean, I dog on Chase sometimes, but Chase does work for this person very well. Citi, Chase, and of course, Built. But the problem with Built is the ability to earn. But if they fix that, then Built will be the creme de la creme for this, for sure. Okay, who we got here? Oh, new channel member, Points Dexter 73 became a YouTube member. Thank you for joining the channel. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. I think that puts me at 83 channel members. I'm just humbled by that. So much so. Dim says, I took a course undergrad called Ethics in Business. Felt like an oxymoron at the time. Well, it kind of feels like an oxymoron sometimes in all of life. Ethics does because they can be flexible at times, right? Okay, Matt says, Dim, the ultimate oxymoron. Yeah, no kidding. Or what about, all lawyers have to take legal ethics. My daughter's a lawyer and she had to take legal ethics. So that one's got to be tough sometimes. Vincent Pascal, yes, I flew Turkish from Dubrovnik to Istanbul to LAX. All my other points currencies would have been costlier to bring me home much later than optimal. Yep. So, as we guessed, international trip. Dim, Enron Bernie, entertaining case studies based on devastating stories. We're getting off on our ethics for sure, aren't we? Thanks for the gifted membership. Lenora Wade said, thanks, Juan Garcia. Thank you, Juan, for her. Okay, if Built fixed the earnings issue, then there would be no reason to use any other ecosystem. I absolutely 100% agree. I would take them over Citi even if they fix the earning. Juan Garcia says, of course, enjoy. Let's see. Family Travel John, fingers crossed that the new Built card mortgage rolls out well. Would love to earn on my mortgage. I would too. And Dem says Enron was one that we covered back then. Yeah, that would be the case study in class, right? Fun course. All right, so now getting to the main event. And this has to do with a card that is often touted, that I have touted, and I still believe is probably the highest value card available, and that is the Hilton Aspire card. I love the Hilton Aspire card, although it is a frustrating card at times. Chime in the comments if you agree or disagree, but I think the Hilton Aspire is one of the most valuable cards on one hand, but the credits aren't terribly bad to use, but they can be sometimes frustrating to use. And so it can just kind of make you sometimes. And that's because it has these credits that are you get $400 in resort credit, and then you get $200. Now the airline credit's super easy to use. Just put it in your travel bank or whatever. It's $50 every quarter, but man, the resort credit, $200, and it can be used even on the rooms and all that is great, but you got to go to a resort. So it's not every Hilton. And although there are a lot of resorts, and if you live in a place like, say, Orlando, this would be easy. I mean, in Orlando, this is easy. There's like a bazillion Hilton resorts in Orlando. In Miami, this is easy. But if you live in Nebraska, this is not easy to use, right? I mean, if you live in Decatur, Illinois, or if you live, in Wyoming, you got to go a long way to get to a Hilton that's a resort, right? Whereas if you could just use it at any old DoubleTree, that'd be easy. So it's kind of like, it does take some work. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what I'm thinking on this. So these are a couple of our stays. Now I threw this on because I'm hoping we've got 45 people watching, and I'm hoping for all 45 of you will look in the description below, and you'll see that Nona, my player 2 of 30 plus years, and my best friend, and it's my travel partner who I love to do life with. She has started a little travel channel called Away Again Travel with Nona and Bob. That's me. And she's kind of doing little videos, and it was nerve-wracking for her to get started, but because she's not a before the camera person, but she's the funnest person ever. So she started like doing the reviews of our hotels and stuff. And so this is our newest review of the Fort Lauderdale Conrad. I linked it below. She's got about 63 subscribers. I'd love to get her over 100. I mean, she looks at it every day. And I wonder if I got any new subscribers. I wonder how many people are watching my videos. So she's kind of excited about it. If y'all wouldn't mind to do that, I'd appreciate it. And I know she would as well. But I put these up here because we love our Hilton Aspire card for both the uncapped free night certificate, because frankly, that Conrad stay that we just did at the Fort Lauderdale Conrad, which was amazing. You can watch the video and you'll see it was like $1,100 a night that night. And we got it for free. I mean, we paid for parking, but I mean, we got it for free. And then we got our meal credits and all that. It was amazing. $1,100 night. And that's on top of the $400 resort credit and the $200 airline credit on a $550 card. It's an amazing card. The Conrad Abu Dhabi down in the bottom left corner, that's where we stayed this last summer. That was not a free night certificate, but that Conrad was so cheap. It was $153 a night. We stayed for 2 nights and we had a $200 credit. So we basically, for 2 nights in one of the most luxurious hotels we've ever seen on the 51st floor in a huge suite with incredible food that was free for Diamond members and an upgrade and all that. We only paid $100 for 2 nights in the lap of luxury because of the of the $200 credit. Now, because the hotel was so cheap. And then on the bottom right, we used our credit 1 year at the Hilton, New York City, Conrad by Hilton in New York City. So we stayed in the New York Conrad, and that was like $800 if we paid for it. So we love both of those benefits, the free night cert, and we love the $200 that you get every 6 months. And we're getting ready to add another Aspire card. So we'll have 2 of them. So we'll get 2 free night certs for an incredible 2 nights and we'll only use that at a high value hotel. But then every 6 months, we're going to have between the 2 of us, $400. So what we want to do, what I think is like the most awesome idea, is to use the free night certs for the most expensive Hilton property we can find that we can get a standard award night for. But then use our $200 credits, because it does work on the room rate, to use those for some luxury hotels that will either be covered by the $200 on the card or almost be covered by it. So be almost free. And that's kind of what we did in Abu Dhabi. So the frustration I had is I got to look in, what are my best choices on this? And as far as I could find, there was nothing on the internet to tell you that. There's certainly a website that tells you what Hilton properties are resorts. That was helpful. But I want to know, what are the cheap ones that I can get for like $200 or less per night? That's what I want to know. And then what are the really expensive ones that I can use my free night cert for and get the absolute most value? I need to know both of those things to utilize my card for the greatest lifestyle that those cards can provide. And since I couldn't find that, well, I made one myself. So what I did is I went through and I started going through and I picked one date. Now, this won't be definitive because it's one date, but it is going to be a guide, right? I picked one date and I looked up every property on that one date to see how much it cost. And I determined what were the most expensive. And I determined which ones you could almost get for, and I only went up to about $350 a night on that end of it. Excuse me. And I determined what it could almost get for the $200 credit. So in other words, we could take both of our cards, and if I could get 2 nights and they were $200 a night, that's an absolutely free, luxurious stay. So I'm looking for both ends of the spectrum. I wanted the most expensive for my free night certs, and I wanted the least expensive to be able to go for free with the resort credit. You understand? There was nowhere on the internet that I found that I could find that information. So I compiled it myself. Now, as I dive into this, and I'm going to go back and catch up on the comments in just a second, but I want you to understand, I did not get through all of them because I did this for hours and I still didn't get to like Hilton resorts. So I did Curio, I did Embassy Suites, but especially I did LXR, I did Conrad, I did Waldorf Astoria. So there'll be some that aren't on here. Like for instance, we just stayed at the Caribe in Puerto Rico. That's a Hilton property. It would work there. I don't know what the rate was. I didn't get to Hilton yet. So I plan on finishing this list, but this is what I've gotten so far. So we're going to dive into it in just a moment. So we have 49 watching, 31 have hit the like button. So if you wouldn't mind doing so, that helps me to get more folks. Let's see what we got here. Matt says, now we're cooking. I'm working on multiple Aspire strategy for this year. All right, good. Matt, I hope this is helpful to you. Aspire is a big ticket spend driver for me. Even cost out rentals, IRS swipe fees, and annual fees. One of my Aspires with free night certificates and points end up being super valuable. Can't use resort credit. Okay, well, maybe this will help you be able to. Anthony Venture, what a well-known guy in the community. Great channel, kind of a mentor to a lot of us in the community. Great to have you here, Anthony. Great to have you with us. All right, so let me go through some of this. So how to use resort credits? Well, the resort credits, they are valuable for incidentals. So sometimes we use our resort credits when we're on a free night cert stay. So we'll use it for expensive meals and stuff like that. You can do that. It works for parking, etc., meals on property, but it works for the room rate. And this is what Nona and I are trying to do. We're trying to use that to get more stays at nice properties, but that will be covered by that resort credit, right? And the challenges are this: finding Hilton resorts, number one, and the affordability of them. That's why it's tough to use the resort credit. And that's why I couldn't find any information. So this is what I compiled in all these hours of effort. And I hope, it sounds like to Matt, it will be a blessing, but I hope it's a blessing to everybody, because the Hilton Aspire can be super valuable. So the first question I asked, where would be the best properties for our free night certs? Because I don't want to burn one of those free night certs for a hotel that's $300. In fact, my kind of bottom end is I want it to be $800 a night or more for me to use my free night cert. I really want to get my value. So here's what I got. Number one, when I did this one night evaluation comparison, the most expensive hotel in the world I found that was a Hilton, that was a resort. These are only resorts. So you won't see things like the one in New York we stayed in is not a resort, so it's not on here. But you can't use the resort credit if it's not a resort. So I only did resorts. So Maldives, $3,181 a night. So, excuse me, that would be an incredible value. I mean, $550 card, use your resort credits, $400, use your, your $200 in airline credit, and then $3,181. That's pretty amazing. But that's not surprising. The second one's not either. The Conrad Bora Bora, $2,267. This one's one that we can't wait to go to. We have our daughter and son-in-law went to the Waldorf Los Cabos. It's amazing. Every single room in the place has a plunge pool. And they loved it. It was amazing. Los Cabos, $2,010 a night. Seychelles, $1,705 a night. That's off the coast of Africa in the Indian Ocean. Waldorf Park City, Utah, $1,377. LXR Katara Hills, Doha, $1,269. Conrad Maldives, $1,108. Waldorf Grand Waila, it's in Hawaii, $857. Waldorf Orlando, $933. LXR Arizona Biltmore, $872. Conrad Fort Lauderdale, that's where we just were 2 weeks ago, $823 was the night I checked. Like I said, when we were there, it was over $1,100, but these things change. And Monarch Beach, also, I think that one's in California, $806. So those were the ones that were over that $800 mark to get the most out of the free night cert. So I hope that's helpful. It's a good little list that if you want to refer back to this live stream in the future, when you're looking for places to use your free night certs, maybe it'll be helpful to you. Okay. Anthony gives us a little emoji there. He says, yeah, I almost got the Aspire just for the Caribe, but decided against it. Yeah, it's pretty good. And I will say, people say, well, diamond's not much better than gold. It is. It is. Let me tell you, because like, for instance, at the, when we were at the Conrad in Abu Dhabi, they had a special, they called it a happy hour just for platinum. I mean, for diamond members that night. And I mean, it had a full spread of food, and it was like seafood, like shrimp and crab. And I mean, and it was amazing. So we just ate their free breakfast. That was incredible free breakfast with a separate diamond member dining room or a la carte. The gold members ate in a different dining room, and they just had the buffet. The buffet was enough, but still they had a special room for diamonds, and the diamonds had dinner in the evening as well. Unbelievable. On a stay that was $151 a night. It was crazy. So diamond is pretty helpful. So you might consider that in the future, Anthony. Matt said, I would add a free night certificate suggestion. I got 2 free nights at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City, 1,572 or 150K points per night. Yeah, that's a really good use, but I limited this list to only ones that if somebody wanted to, they could use their resort credit also, because these ones are listed as resorts. I mean, like I said, we stayed in the one in New York City, but it's not a resort. So yeah, let me say as a clarifier, there are a lot of great hotels that are very expensive. You can use your free night cert on, that are not resorts. But since we're talking primarily about the $200 resort credit every 6 months, I wanted to kind of focus on the ones that are. So thank you, Matt, for that. Juan Garcia said, Aspire is so on fire. It is. Matt said, do you ever buy Hilton Honors points when they're 100% on sale? No, not really. The truth is I just don't use Hilton points hardly ever. So that's just not something that I ever use, because their points are just so not valuable, as you well know. And so I just don't use their points. We pretty much just use our certs and our credits. So that's, I do accumulate some points here and there because, I put the card in for incidentals at the hotel, and when you're getting your credits back, you're also earning points. So we do earn some points, but I don't go out of my way to. Now we will get a chunk when we get the second Aspire card, of course. FOMO, I too nearly got the Aspire for the Caribe, maybe someday. Yeah, it's pretty good. Juan Garcia says hello to Anthony. Matt says, ignore my suggestion. You're listing best places for the free night certificate at an official resort property. My apology. No problem. I understand, because there are some great properties that aren't, for sure. And Mike Newland, as he often does, great friend of my channel and many others, gifted 5 Rewards Master memberships. Mike, that puts me almost to 90. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just can't even imagine. I have 90 almost. I think that maybe 88 or 89. But I mean, that is just amazing. Thank you so much. Juan Garcia says, Phil, you won't get the CSR. Go all in on, since you won't get the CSR, go all in on the Aspire. I think the Aspire is a good choice. Thanks for the list. You're welcome. Nemo in Los Angeles. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. But I got more lists for you. It's coming. We're getting to even more lists. So Anthony Ventures, hey, Juan and Phil, saying hi back. More hellos. Let's see what else we got. Still some more hellos. Mike says, Anthony, I thought you had all the Hilton cards, king of them. Anthony says, Newland is gifted like 1,400 memberships this year. He is the benevolent membership gifter. That's for sure. That is for sure. Tom Bagwell says, just spent 5 days at the Waldorf, Costa Rica, 2,000 a night. Great deal, stacked with 2 different Amex offers for $400 off $1,000. That's awesome. That is really great. Dem says, not really up on the Aspire card. Can you use points along with your free night cert for a booking? What's the average cent per point you guys are seeing? Well, yes, you can have one night and then book the rest with points or whatever, but you're looking at, on average, half a cent per point. At the high end, you might get up to 1. That's kind of what I see. Stacy says, you can add the Oceana St. Monica LXR Hotel and Resorts. We're staying there in February, booked on free night certs. Let me see if I have them on my list, because I did the LXRs. And I wonder if there's a reason. Would you say it's called the Oceana Santa Monica? Yeah, it didn't come up on my list. I don't know why. I had the Arizona Biltmore, Beach at the Village at the Dell, Crockford's Vegas, Waikiki, Katara Hills, Doha. Yeah, I'll have to look back and see how I missed that one. But thank you, Stacy. Thank you. Anthony said, not yet, Mike, just the doubles, no annual fee for the Surpass. Okay. RC says Waldorf Astoria in Washington, D.C. is amazing. Okay, good. Yep, I think somebody else just talked about that. I'm staying at the FHR property in Playa del Carmen in 2 weeks. Use my Prestige card for the 4th night. Yeah, we could talk about that one, but nobody can get it, so there's no use. You can use points in combination with free nights. That's what we were just saying. I bought some points to get extra nights in Washington, 150,000 points for $750. Okay, so that would get you a nice hotel room night, $750. That might be cheaper than at some hotels what it would cost. Mike Newland says to Anthony, I don't know where you heard that rumor. All right. Hello from Vegas, says the Dragon 31. What a cool name. And Dem says, thanks, Juan. So got one of the free memberships. Great. Okay, now we get to the kind of the real main event. Best properties to use your resort credit for stays under $350. Okay, so this is cool because some of these you could go, if you have 2 Aspire cards, you can go for 2 nights and go absolutely free. So the ones that are on this whole page right here, you can go absolutely free because your $200 resort credit will pay for it. So like we're going to have 2 Aspires. So if we book 2 rooms back to back, my Aspire card pay for one night, her Aspire card pay for the other night. And these are at resorts. So with our diamond status, we're going to get upgraded. I mean, most of the time, especially on the overseas ones, really well upgraded. And we're going to get food and beverage credits. So these are for free. So it's like, yes, you do get the free night certificate, but in a way, you get more free nights if you pay attention to this and if you can find the resorts that are cheap enough. And really what got me started on this is I didn't have any idea, but when we booked the Conrad, which was one of the most amazing properties we've ever stayed at in Abu Dhabi, and it's on this list, it was so cheap. It was $150-some a night. Unbelievable. For this, I mean, honestly, just 5-star, amazing hotel for $150 a night. Unbelievable. So it got me thinking, the Hilton doesn't just give me 1 free night. It, in essence, gives me 3 at luxury properties if I find cheap enough luxury properties for the credits. So these are what I came up with. The cheapest I found, Curio Borea Garden in Portugal, $122 a night. That would lead you $78 every day, every night, if you figure in a card for each night, that would leave you $78 for food and beverage. And it's all free. That's amazing. The Embassy Suites, Panama City Beach, that's in Florida, $134 a night. And that's a resort property. The Curio Grand des Sables Plage in France, $146 a night. The Conrad in Bali, $148 a night. Embassy Suites in Charlotte's in North Carolina, $150 a night. Embassy Suites in Orlando. So if you're going to Disney at Sunset Walk, $152 a night. Curio St. Kitts, $160 a night. Conrad Abu Dhabi, $163 a night. That's the one we stayed at. Embassy Suites Virginia Beach, $166. Embassy Suites Orlando Buena Vista. So right there by Disney, $169 a night. Okay. Going up the list, we're still not to $200 a night. Embassy Suites Gulf Shores, Alabama, $176. Curio Piccola, Sicily, $188. Curio Corinthia, $182. Tapestry Qatar, $196. Just peaking just over $200, which that doesn't bother me. I mean, pay $14 for a luxury hotel. I'm good with that. Embassy Suites Myrtle Beach, $214. Curio Honduras, $216. Curio Spain, $226. Conrad Algarve in Portugal, $245. Conrad in Morocco, $245. And in Doha, $253. We're moving up more. Now we start to get us some Waldorfs. Waldorf Astoria Versailles, $254. Waldorf UAE, $255. Curio Domes Greece, $287. Greenville Golf Course in Greenville, South Carolina, $300. Puerto Rico, $305. Conrad Las Vegas, $314. Costa Rica, $316. Deerfield Beach, Florida, $316. Conrad Laguna, Sardinia, Italy, $320. And finally, the other one in Sardinia for $339. Do you understand the strategy I'm talking about here? If you use this, you could, in theory, if you had 2 Aspire cards like we're going to have, you could get 2 free night certs that are at over $1,000 a piece in value. Stay in an incredible hotel, and then stay in some pretty awesome hotels and get 2 more stays of 2 nights because you're using the $200 on each of them the first half of the year and the $200 on each of them the second half of the year. That's what I wanted to know. And I couldn't find information like this anywhere. Now, your miles may vary because I just chose one night. I noticed somebody already asked, I think Mike Newland, and I'll get to his comment in a minute, but are these off season or just random dates? No, I picked one date and I picked it at the end of February. So depending on which one you're talking about, it's off season or not, depending on what part of the world. But that's not really what I was most concerned about. I was just wanting a reference, not to tell me what it actually costs. I was wanting a reference to tell me what hotels to look at, which ones are typically lower than others. See what I mean? So then I can know, and I don't have to search through the whole stinking world when I'm looking for which ones to get the most value from. So that's where I was going with it. Okay. Let's see. I think we're right here. 64 CT Carter. Carter, good to have you. Says use 2 free night certificates for Oceana in January. Great choice. Good. Great. Oceana. And Mike Newland, I kind of already answered that question about off date or I mean off peak or on peak. The Dragon says, I got 2 Aspires right now. I'll be upgrading my Surpass in March for 3 Aspires total. Sweet. Well, I hope this is helpful to you because this is something I was constantly searching for, could never find it. So I just did it myself. One downside, this is from Alex Bamazani. So Alex says, one downside of using resort credit is that you have to pay resort fees, $50 a night at Signia Orlando, where we just stayed. Yeah, that's true. You do, but you don't on free night certs. So that's true. Matt says, love it. Do you max out the spend on some or all of your Aspires to get the free night certs? And he's asking, Dragon that. Nurcan 71, good to have you with us. Says next summer I booked 5-night stay at Hermitage Bay and SLH property in Antigua with 3 free-night certs and $190K. Didn't charge me an additional $190 for the 5th night. Guess I got lucky. I guess you did. Sounds like very, very lucky. All right. Well, that is kind of what I had for you today. Any last comments about this? Feel free to put them down there. But I hope this is a great resource for you with your Hilton Aspires as you're thinking about how to plan stays. Because I know I'm going to use it. I'm going to go back to it over and over and over and over because we just love that card. And I wanted a kind of a quick reference guide to be able to get the best value I could out of it. So that was the idea. Nurkan says, I thought it has to be booked all in points to get 5th night. I think technically it does. I think just got lucky. So Nemo Los Angeles says, thanks for the great info. I hope it's helpful. I really do. All right. Thanks all for being here. Let me see. Some people, I don't think we got any super chats today. Maybe we did. Let me go back up and see. I wouldn't want to leave anybody out. Mike Newland, always a great friend of the channel, gifted 5 Rewards Master memberships. Deeply appreciative of that. Points Dexter 73 became a new member. Welcome to the channel. Glad to have you as a part of the community. And let me see. I know there was another up here. Juan Garcia gifted 1 Rewards Master membership. And I don't think there were any super chats or super stickers today. That's kind of different, but it's all right. So thank you, everybody. Mike says, thank you for the information and have a happy new year, Rewards Master, your wife. Thank you. And let me remind y'all one more time, please go over to Awaken Travels. Subscribe if you haven't. There's a link in the description below to our newest video at the Conrad Fort Lauderdale. Nona worked really hard on it. So I know she'd really appreciate those likes and watches and especially the subscription. So please go over there and do that. Appreciate all of you. And I will see you here hopefully next Sunday afternoon. See you.